I start cooking when my husband leaves work, giving myself 30 minutes on the clock. Tonight we're having King's Hawaiian sliders with a grinder salad on the side and also some green beans because it's fridge clean out week. Let's see if we can beat the clock. We're in that weird space and time between Christmas and New Year's. I don't want to go to the grocery store. I also don't want to throw away food. I'm using every leftover that we possibly have to try to put together our menu this week. We have a couple of King's Hawaiian sliders left over from one of our family Christmases, and they're still nice and soft. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these in half. Slicing these is always the hardest part of the entire task. Perfect. Sliced in half. I sprayed the bottom of my pan so these don't stick. And then I'm just going to lay the bottom half in, and we'll start constructing. You really can take this recipe and do with it as you please. This is how we've adopted it based on what we have in the fridge this week. Next thing is I'm going to go in with turkey. I have a 9-ounce package of turkey here, and I'm just going to lay these out evenly across our slider buns. One even row. We are fresh out of sliced provolone. I'm just going to use some thin sliced Colby Jack. Use whatever cheese you have on hand. It does not matter. I love cheese, so I could eat every kind of it. Just gonna get an even layer. These are thin slices of cheese, so I'm gonna do 2 layers. Before I put the top layer back on, I am just gonna spread a really thin layer of mayonnaise back on here just to keep everything nice and moist. That was for you, Mom. For those of you that were here for dried beef dip, Will San doesn't live close, so unfortunately we don't have a lot of content planned, but I'm trying to get my mom to come visit soon so we can hopefully record a few more of her recipes. She's a whiz in the kitchen, unlike me. Lay those out flat. The next thing that you could do is slice these so it's easier to serve them. The last thing that we have to do to these before they're ready to go into the oven is get them seasoned on top. There is a recipe for like 4 tablespoons of butter, garlic powder, I think some mustard and Worcestershire sauce. I have a cheat code that I don't know if I'm proud of, but sometimes we eat Papa John's, and whenever we have leftover garlic sauce, I just stick it in the refrigerator and I save it for King's Hawaiian night because this is already seasoned. So I don't have to make homemade butter sauce. I'm sure this is awful for you, but it's not wasteful, so I feel like that's a good thing. My sound cut out here because my husband was calling, but all you do is you drizzle the garlic butter sauce over the top and then just make sure it's evenly spread. You can see that I just ignored his call and the sound still didn't work. Before you put these in the oven, you want to cover them with foil. That way your cheese has enough time to get nice and melty and the middle of your sandwiches will get warm without burning the top of the spread. You still want those sliders to be nice and soft, but you want it to be warmed all the way through. Foil's on. My oven is not quite heated up, so I'm just going to set these off to the side and we'll get started on our salad. You can either eat this on top of your sliders. I've seen people do that a lot when they use salami and pepperoni. Since we're just doing turkey tonight, I'm not sure if I'm really going to eat mine on my sandwich or just on the side. But starting off with some really thin sliced red onion. I kept the red onion kind of large just because I want big chunks of it in my salad. You can chop it up as finely as you like. Probably could have got a mandolin out, but the less that I have to deal with, the better. Wow, those onions are rough. Still struggling with onions right now. Don't mind my crying for the rest of this. It really is just the onions and my excitement for having to make dinner again. I have about a half a bag of shredded lettuce, 1/8 to 1/4 of a red onion that I shaved and popped in here. I'm gonna make my dressing just in my mayonnaise container because I don't have a whole lot left in here. There's probably about 2 tablespoons in here. Add in enough red wine vinegar to feel good about it. So probably at least a tablespoon, maybe 1.5 tablespoons. The next thing I'm gonna add into my dressing is some Bochi stone ground mustard. It's a Dutch mustard. It's made here in the Midwest. I discovered it last year and I absolutely love it. I'm gonna add in about a teaspoon. This is gonna give a lot of flavor, pack a lot of punch in a very small amount. And our last bit of seasoning is gonna be some salt, pepper. I'm still gonna get slammed for seasoning. You do not have to eat out of my kitchen. Add as much seasoning as you would like. Shake this up until everything is released from the sides, and then I'll taste it to make sure that I like the flavor. And then we'll just pour that right over our salad and it's ready to roll. There's way too much dressing here for what we have, so I'm actually going to save a little bit back for some sandwiches I had planned for later this week. It should be okay for a few days in the refrigerator. Fluff this up. This is so perfect. And I still have one more thing to do before they get home, which is some green beans. This looks so good. We got that right. I have a little bit of bacon left over from breakfast yesterday. I'm going to add about a teaspoon or 2 of oil and then 2 cans of green beans. Add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Let them get nice and brown and kind of sauteed. I love a good sauteed green bean. And then we get our veggies still with our King's Hawaiian slider night. I mentioned that I had that leftover Papa John's garlic butter that was left over from a pizza we had recently. We don't eat a lot of takeout, but it seems like whenever we do, we always have a lot of leftover sauces. So I just have this little container that I keep in our refrigerator. I keep all of my extra sauces in here, and sometimes when I'm going to make dinner, I'll peek through this and see what I have that I want to use up. The last thing that I'm going to do to these green beans, add a little bit of garlic and onion onto these as well. This garlic does not like to come out. The onion, this stuff will fly out here. Just a little. This is another one of my mom's recipes. She actually does these way better than I do. We called them fried green beans growing up. They're not really fried, but they're a fried version of green beans. Maybe a half of a clove of garlic. I think this is going to be perfect now. Divine. The only thing about cooking French green beans like this is they do break down a lot, so it starts to look like bean shreds. I would advise using cut green beans. We only had 1 can of each, so that's why we're here. Our sandwiches are done. I'm gonna let the top of these brown up just a little bit more. Some people will add parsley. I really like the Kinder's butter garlic on top of these, so I'm gonna do that on a few, but I'm gonna leave it off of most because our daughter will want to eat a few of these. Everybody's home. Our timing is so perfect. Thanks for sticking around tonight, but we beat the clock again. I knew I would. This is a super easy meal. There's nothing fancy about it. This is all about just finding what you have in your refrigerator. I missed the fancy taste video, but it's really good with the salad on it. It sounds a little weird, but I promise it's really good. I would definitely recommend it.